keep an eye on this police pursuit, but the vehicle itself has no qualms about going at a pretty high rate of speed. Now, the thing is about the 710 freeway is eventually it will stop. You have to make a lot of decisions on whether you're going to get off, whether you're going to cross the bridge, or get in a situation where perhaps you can change directions. I'm not quite sure if at this point that they're past the 405 interchange. So that would be another opportunity for this vehicle to take a route that would keep them in pursuit as opposed to finding themselves in a place where perhaps there's no exit for them. So we're watching as this vehicle, again, reckless behavior was the original want, but as we watch the driver seems to be navigating fairly well if you avoid the fact that it's going at such a high rate of speed. But it's got to get past all of these other vehicles in the traffic on a Sunday night, and it seems to be handling the drive fairly well. Again, reckless driving witnessed by CHP. Now, sometimes that means something else, that perhaps that's what they call the original want, but there could have been something else that perhaps they don't want to talk about. Is it possible that this driver flashed a weapon? Is it possible that there was some kind of interaction between this driver and somebody else, and that was the reckless driving behavior? So we watch the CHP. The CHP is coming up right behind the driver. Shirley is well aware that he or she is being followed by the CHP, and of course we know that Skyfox is overhead. We can see that the night sun is poised over the vehicle, and it looks as if it's one of those vehicles, perhaps a newer vehicle, that has the temporary license. So instead of a metal plate, when you initially get a new car, you will wind up with that temporary paper license that is attached to the car. Okay, now it seems as if the vehicle has now taken some kind of interchange. So now it is on the 105 going westbound, approaching the Compton area. I'm trying to get my maps up so I can be a little bit more specific about what we're looking at. But what I find sort of unusual is to be able to see the CHP officer driving fairly closely, perhaps because of the amount of traffic on this particular freeway. We have who on the phone? Okay, we've got Dennis Zine on the phone, who is, of course, a former police officer and also former government official, city official. So let's talk to Dennis. Dennis, we did see like a little spark there coming from the vehicle. Dennis, what are you seeing?
Well, another evening high-speed pursuit, and fortunately for the motoring public, very little traffic. But then the suspect can travel at excessive speeds, and I see that CHP vehicle is very close in proximity, but the fact is it's nice when you don't have a lot of traffic. This type of situation, as far as the motoring public and as far as the officers' ability to catch them eventually, that makes it a better environment. We don't want innocent people to be injured. We don't want to create collisions. So with this type of situation, it's if we're going to have a pursuit, this is the ideal situation where you're not going to jeopardize a lot of people since you've got very little traffic. And that CHP unit is, as we see, very close behind.
And what do you take from that, Dennis? Do you take anything from the fact that the CHP officer has decided to be in such close proximity to this vehicle?
Well, they're being aggressive. Whatever the violator has done, whatever initiated this particular traffic situation, this pursuit, the officer and the supervisors, I'm sure, are saying, because of the traffic conditions and the light traffic, be aggressive in the pursuit. CHP is normally very aggressive in their pursuits.
Yeah, now we're watching as the vehicle has exited the freeway, and so now we're dealing with surface streets, and then whenever you're dealing with surface streets, you do have to worry about things that could come in between the vehicle and the CHP officers. There could be people out. I realize it's Sunday night at 10:30, so chances are fewer people are out and about at this hour, but it definitely does up the danger level. And we're now watching as this vehicle has encountered some traffic and therefore has to take some maneuvers that would not be considered safe by any measure, going into the opposing lane of traffic, for example. Now we are watching as this vehicle goes up past 70, 75 miles per hour. Looks as if perhaps getting back on the freeway. Nope, still on some kind of a surface street. But you're right, Dennis, there is less traffic. I always get a little nervous though when I see any traffic. Well, that car was kind of, going around vehicles at a high rate of speed on the freeway. Now it seems to have a wide berth here, but
well, it creates much more danger for the motoring public because you've got traffic intersections, you've got pedestrians, you've got cross streets. Compared to the freeway, you're in one direction, and you can contain that. But you don't have the other hazards, so you increase the hazards into the general public. Created greatly so. That's the problem.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Dennis, but we just watched as it came across some stopped traffic, and so in order to get around it, it went into the opposing lane of traffic and then went through a red light. So you're absolutely correct. If there wasn't such light traffic and there was cross traffic, then we would, of course, be worried that that car, the pursued car, could come in contact with somebody innocent just trying to get home or trying to get back from the grocery store or what have you.
Exactly, and they have their windows rolled up. It's a chilly night, so they're not going to hear the siren. They're not going to see the red lights, especially on the cross intersection. It just increases the hazard to the general public, much greater on the surface street versus the freeway. As we see that traffic is 78 miles an hour on a commercial area, we've got cross traffic. Extremely dangerous, extremely hazardous.
Yeah, it's unnerving to see this vehicle and the driver, the way the driver is maneuvering this car. Meantime, we haven't seen the CHP officer going through another red light, but presumably CHP officer not very far behind. At this stage, is it time for perhaps the supervisor to suggest or order the CHP driver officer to pull back a little bit in order to keep the pursued driver not so spooked by the pursuing officer?
Well, they're monitoring this, and the watch commander at the particular division is going to be involved also. They'll be watching Fox 11 to monitor it, and they'll be communicating. But the bottom line is they want to apprehend, but they do not want to injure an innocent person. So it's a delicate balance between apprehending this individual. But again, as long as you have an air unit overhead, that's the ideal situation, and the air unit will stay overhead, continue. Oftentimes the media will communicate with CHP back and forth. So it's a cooperative effort. The bottom line is get this person in custody as quickly as possible and bring some peace and tranquility to that area and eliminate the hazard, because wrong side of roadway, in and out of traffic, excessive speeds, all the factors that contribute. And I've investigated many fatal collisions, and these type of situations can lead to a situation when innocent people are killed because of the excessive speed and the hazardous driving, because the people that were fleeing have absolutely no concern or care for public safety.
Absolutely.
So the officers want to protect, the bottom line is protect the public, and if it means backing off, but as long as we have an air unit, we have a drone overhead, that is fine, because they will finally come to a stop, whether they run out of gas or collide or whatever the case may be, and then they swoop in and take them into custody, and then it goes through the criminal justice system. But the bottom line is to bring it to an end as quickly as possible, again, to protect people's lives, innocent people, pedestrians, bicycles,
Absolutely,
There's a lot of people
but Dennis, on the same token, okay, it looks as if the car might be slowing. Perhaps it was trying to navigate and get to a neighborhood. Is that somebody that's running from? Okay, so it's a foot bail out of that vehicle. We don't know what happened to the vehicle itself. Did that person manage to get out of the car as the car slowed? But now we're keeping an eye on this running man, or what appears to be a man. Meantime, there you go. There's a CHP officer right there, right behind. Does that officer see that person, or has that person out of our line of sight, managed to get into perhaps one of these houses or into the yards. But that's the other nerve-wracking thing, isn't it, Dennis? When you start going into these smaller surface streets, the neighborhoods where, you know, people are just getting ready to go down for the night, perhaps getting ready for work tomorrow. Okay, so we have multiple law enforcement vehicles now that have now stopped in the middle of this street. This is at Walnut Drive and Nadeau Street in the Southgate, East Los Angeles area. So I was wrong previously when I said that the pursuing car was heading towards Long Beach. In fact, the extreme nav was correct. The driver was heading away from Long Beach, and this was basically a very near to or a part of the area. Okay, now we see somebody, we see officers. We have somebody in custody. All right. So there it is.
That's it. That's a code 4 time. Code 4 means everything's under control. Suspect will be taken to custody and go through the criminal justice procedure, and we'll never hear what happens. We will never hear. It'll end here, and the public will never know what happens to the situation. But thank goodness no one's injured, no one's killed.
Absolutely.
And no collisions.
So what we do know is we saw some reckless behavior by the pursued driver, but once they foot-bailed out of that vehicle, we didn't witness anything that suggested that there was any interaction, any crashing, any, you know, even swiping of another vehicle that would leave a vehicle damaged, or thank goodness no people were brought into contact with this driver. But yep, we have a driver in custody now. It would be nice if we could see a little bit of where that vehicle is, what happened to it. Was somebody else in the vehicle and they were able to get the guy out? There's the vehicle there.
I think that vehicle continued when he alighted from the vehicle. I think he left the vehicle
and let it roll.
What I saw was continuing to roll. It was continuing to roll, and then it will obviously stop eventually and maybe crash into a parked car, which wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Well,
but
meantime,
it should be there someplace.
If he was able to get out of a rolling car, that takes a lot of talent.
It stopped in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
There's the car.
Stopped in the middle of the street. All right, Dennis Lyon, thank you so much for your opinion and your views on what just happened here. I appreciate you very much.
Good evening to you.